Thanks very much for taking the time out today to join us for our Code virtual seminar. Appreciate everyone's got very busy lives, and yeah, we're gonna talk to you today. We've got a great agenda. We've got a couple of our students who are going to share their stories with us, which is, I always love hearing. It's my favourite part of the job, actually, to understand their journey and where they've got to today. We've got Robin, who's over in Dublin, who's part of our career services team. Hi, Robin.
Hello.
And then we've got Ben, who is in a different room. I'm in the office in Brighton, and the other side of the office. And Ben's been in the company I've been here for just over 7.5 years, coming up to 8 years.
Don't tell him how long I've been here.
He's got a wealth of experience. Well, you can do that. But Ben has a wealth of experience surrounding coding and the learning people as a company, so we'll hear from him as well. And then we've got Maya, who's over in London. Hi, Maya. I think she can hear me. She did hear me before.
Yeah,
and then Lindsay's all the way. Yeah, great. Okay. And then Lindsay's in Marseille, so we'll catch up with those guys. So just a little. Firstly, we're recording this session, so we'll send it out to you hopefully by first thing tomorrow. And also for GDPR, we are recording. So if you don't face this, turn off your videos. And that's that. So I'm head of marketing. As I said, I've been at the company for coming up to 8 years. It's been an extremely exciting journey watching the learning people grow. We've helped over 30,000 students worldwide to enter new careers in tech and IT, coding and project management. We've got offices. Well, our home was in Brighton, which is where we are now, and then we've got an Irish home, a New Zealand home, and an Australian home as well. And we're venturing out into other territories over the next couple of years is the plan. As I say, students, everything we do is just all about student success. So people come to us to understand more about an industry, and we can help demystify that, set somebody on the right career pathway, but ensuring it's right for that person to understand everything about the industry before making a decision to enroll on what might be a course, and then obviously to help people get placed into roles. That's why we do what we do. That's why the learning people exist. So it's great to be able to talk to you today. I think what we'll do now is, if we just Ben, let's hear from you to tell us just a little bit about yourself and some of the opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, hi everyone, and thank you so much for taking the time to spend with us today. I've been here for 9 years, I think a little bit more than 9 years now, which is a really long time. And I have to say, look, I've been here for so long because I love what we do, I really enjoy it. And as I hate to get really cheesy, but I have to agree with John, seeing the student outcomes is really satisfying for us. Ultimately, my job as a senior coding specialist is to advise people on the different types of careers that they can have. Sometimes people have a good idea of what they want to do. Sometimes they have no clue, and that's okay. We can offer some advice and kind of tailor it to, you know, it's what do you want to do with your life? What's important to you? Because sometimes people come to us and they say they want to work from home, or they want to travel the world, or they want to make loads of money, or whatever it might be. But whatever's important, we can kind of put together a path that is going to work for you, that achieves your goals. And I could waffle on all day, but I think it's more important that we hear from the students that are on today. But I think I want to answer two questions that I think is important for you guys to know, because, well, it's going to inform you, but it's why coding and why now? If you're considering a new career, I mean, like, why coding and why now? And honestly, I think so many people are flocking to coding right now because there is a huge shortage in good coders today. There always has been. That the gap between good coders and the amount of jobs available is just getting wider and wider all the time as more and more jobs require coders. And when I say why coding, to start there, it's a job type that can open up pretty much whatever kind of door you want for your life, whatever you want to achieve in your life. One of the smartest things that you can do right now is to learn to code. Kind of like what I was saying before, if you want to work from home or start your own company or be your own boss, travel, just do a great Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, working for a great company, but whatever you want for your life, if you learn to code, you can have those things. And I think that's always been true of coding and why so many people are looking to get into it. But why now? is it so important to get into coding if you're ever going to, is because certainly I've been doing this for 9 years, as I say, and even before that, we see an increase in demand for coders by like maybe 4, 5, 6% every single year without fail, which is quite a large percentage in an already job-saturated industry. But in the last 12 months, we've seen that increase by 15.5%, which is a monstrous leap in demand. And I think the reasons for it are fairly straightforward. Companies all around the world, they're looking for ways to survive the oncoming recession, to make sure that they stay in business and continue trading, particularly retail or anywhere that expects any kind of foot traffic. And they're having to adapt to modern times and the way that things are changing. So they want to improve their internal technology, improve their website, their online presence, a bigger website, better, all these different sorts of things that are great ways to continue trading. But of course, for all of those things, you need coders. And it's for this reason that I say, why coding? Why now? It's for those reasons. Why coding? Because you can achieve whatever you want in your life. But why now? Because there's never been more demand for coders than there is right now. So apologies to waffle on a little bit there. I'm very passionate about this and I could go on for much longer, but I will pass over to Robin to tell you a little bit about our career services.
Thanks, Ben. So I'm Robin. I'm in the career services team. I have 6 years of experience in the employability sector, including 2.5 years in tech recruitment, recruiting for software developers in Dublin before joining Learning People last August. And I can tell you that there has never been a better time to enter a career in tech. Very similar to, I'll mirror a lot of the points that Ben was saying, so it's really, really true and has been for quite a while. But right now, since the pandemic, things have increased massively and since our kind of recovery back from the pandemic. So for example, the UK GDP is set to increase by 5.5%. So that indicates that there's major investment coming back to the economy, which leads to new initiatives and new opportunities overall. Our society is so reliant on technology, not only sort of in our day-to-day lives, but also as an essential factor for innovation and change. So that's why it's absolutely no surprise that 69% of all tech-focused organizations plan to expand their teams over 2021 and 2022. And again, like Ben said, with developers at the top of the list in very high demand. And at Career Services, we're on hand to provide industry-specific, impartial advice and support. So we support you in becoming job ready in order to avail of these opportunities. We provide guidance and support on how to navigate the job market and navigate your career change into a coding role. So you'll work one-to-one with a consultant like myself, where you'll be guided through a 3-phase process, which is inclusive of quite a lot of things, right? So we provide CV and LinkedIn support with your networking and your approach to applications, how to beat the dreaded applicant tracker system or AI CV reviewer, how to build relationships with recruiters, very extensive interview support process, which starts from interview prep to mock interviews to interview debriefing. We support you through the job offer process and all the way to starting your new role. We'll also teach you on how to engage with the industry and its key players. And this is the true way of making yourself stand out. So one of our students who landed a permanent junior software developer role was told by his recruiter that the reason the company selected him for interview was due to his LinkedIn activity and how he presented himself as a software engineering professional. And you see, with our experience as recruiters, we know what is needed from you to make your profile stand out and above the competition. So, and as there's no one size fits all, really, there's all of these elements in the process, but it is tailored specifically for the needs of each individual student. And we believe in providing our code students with tailored software engineering specific guidance to help you showcase your brand and completely do that career change into a coding role. That's all from me.
Great, thanks, Robin. It's just fascinating. I'm just from what Ben and yourself are saying, the demand is just huge and continues to grow. And I'm just thinking, when I woke up this morning, how many gadgets or pieces of tech did I use which needed to be code? So I woke up straight on your phone. That's an obvious one. Downstairs, make a cup of coffee. I've got a fridge freezer with AI technology. I think that just helps it defrost. That needed to be coded. Went for a run, put Spotify on. That needed to be coded. Everything just has so many reasons for and so much demand, I guess, for software developers, and I can't see that slowing down anytime soon. It's only going to grow and grow. So, so thanks for sending in your questions when you registered. We've got some of those to go through towards the end of the session. I'd like to speak to Lindsay and Maya now. So I think if we start off, Lindsay, if you could talk to us about your journey so far and why you entered or wanted to start a career in software development.
Hi. Yeah, so I decided to make the switch after I just essentially had enough with the jobs that I was participating in beforehand. And then just, you know, sort of one morning I just woke up and decided that that was enough for me. I'd always fiddled around with coding before I decided to start an online course. And, you know, I'd done little bits and pieces, but I thought if I was gonna stop the job that I was working at, then I should actually make a move into something that I wanted to do long term, if not permanently. So, you know, I sort of reflected upon myself, and I thought that the coding was very much the way forwards. So I did some research, found the course that I wanted to do, and contacted them, and then worked out a strategy and a learning plan. And then from my graduation, then I was working with Robin primarily, where she was really helping me, you know, reach out, get in touch with other recruiters, get in touch with other developers in all forms of media. And from there, I was just really sort of able to get that momentum, get the ball moving. And I think that's the most difficult bit, is when you start, you sort of think there is just an overwhelming amount of places that you can be looking. But once you sort of tackle one thing head on and you get that momentum going, then everything else starts to fall into place. And I mean, at first it sort of feels a little bit daunting, but you know, the common adage, you just take one step at a time and things start to work out for you.
So what are you studying, Lindsay? What course did you enroll onto?
So I did a diploma in software development with Code Institute online. Although originally my university degree was in English literature. Okay. So it was quite a big change.
Yeah. Were there any common traits from English lit into coding in terms of just learning language, or completely different?
I mean, I think with every two subjects you can find common ground. One thing about English literature is I find it's more of a study about research. So as long as you can learn to research and find the information that you need to know, then you can start to build up your arguments and your evidence and I mean, you wouldn't need this in web development as much, but your citations for any of your papers you're doing. So I took those techniques and I applied it to any problems that I came across in web development. So if I was to be struggling working out some JavaScript function, I would know how to phrase my questions quite well online, so I could get you know, right to the source of where my problem's going and be able to troubleshoot and find a solution as quickly as possible, which now that I've started my career, I find is one of my greatest strengths, is that I can really get to the source of anything that's sort of posing an obstacle to us and the rest of my team.
That's really interesting, and a lot of coding is surrounding problem solving. And if you're into problem solving, then it's definitely a career for you. My way into digital marketing was through learning to code, and I always loved problem solving. And I only know a very little bit of front end, but it's helped my career exponentially. So where is your career at now, Lindsay? What are you doing?
So I've got a role as a junior front end web developer. Although since I started, the company has reached out to me and they said that they're very happy with the work I've been doing front end, but they feel like their expansion is going to require a lot more back end. So they're asking me to take on a couple of more back end tasks. We're working primarily in Ruby and Ruby on Rails. So I mean, while the tasks I'm now doing with back end is still quite minor, I would say, they're trying to make that transaction going, and I think that's very exciting because I still get to participate in the front end tasks, but then I also get to learn more about the back end. So if there are any tasks that are required where it's some data validation and the form presentation on the front end, they'll hand that task to me so that I can get a grasp both sides of it.
So we'll come back and talk to you a little bit about what you actually do as a front-end developer, Lindsay. But let's bring in Maya. We'll ask you the same question. What was the decision to get into coding, and where are you at now with your software developer career?
So I'm a personal trainer, and I specialize in training pre and postnatal women, so throughout their pregnancy and thereafter. I'm also a podcaster and I host retreats. So you can imagine from there, like I know Lindsay's saying an English literature degree, but even before you're playing around with coding, for me, coding is what you see in like films, like hacking films. That was my extent of knowledge. I'm the person where if I'm trying to watch a film like illegally on download, I'll click on the pop-ups because I'll believe them. That's how non-techie I was. So when I was saying to the people around me, like my loved ones and my boyfriend and my mum and stuff, that this is what I do, and everyone was like, are you sure? Like, do you? But then the thought process for me was, what am I going to do? Like you said, I think it was Ben that said something that's going to have exponential growth, that's always necessary. There's a lack of, it was very important to me to be the representation. Everywhere I go, I want to be the representation that wasn't there. And there's not very many women proportionally in coding, let alone women of color. So I was even more like, this is going to be great. And also, if you let me in, then someone will see me and think I could do that as well. And it just seemed like a really good choice. And it was also something that I wanted. I was very much aware, like has been said already, that coding and tech is very much the future. And I wanted to be on the right side of it so that I could be very self-sufficient as things got better and better. Like I'm pretty sure, like you're saying, with so many, new projects and new investments and all these things, people are going to need new websites, new apps, and all the rest of it. And you want to be the one who knows how to do that stuff, so you can always do it yourself. And as well, being a personal trainer, being any kind of self-employed, you want to be self-sufficient as possible so you can save money. So yeah, that was my main force behind deciding. And I did a limited amount I did a course with Code First Girls. And it was just an introduction to coding. It was very, very limited, a little bit of HTML and CSS. That was like absolute. And after I did that, I felt like I was a hacker. So I thought, oh, this will be easy. I can just carry on doing this. And then I did a bit of research and I came across the full stack software developer course, the Diploma, I think the same one that Lindsay was speaking about. And I made a few phone calls and I spoke to someone at Learning People, and they were extremely helpful. I explained just what I told you. And I said, I do this. What do you think? Like, I want to move into tech, but I've got no idea what. I didn't even know what front end and back end was. I had no clue. And she said, I think this is probably your best bet. So I did a bit more research. I called a few people that I knew that were in tech already. And the thing that was worrying me was not that I ever doubted, how good the course would be or anything like, or getting a job. I knew all of these things, that was clear for me. But I was just worried that, am I going to be able to apply the skills that I learn here, which will no doubt change, like the requirements for jobs and stuff will no doubt change, because obviously it's a fast moving industry. Every day there's a new development and there's something else that you've got to know. But what I've noticed about tech in my, I only submitted my final project on April the 12th. So since then, and I've since got a job as well, which is amazing. And I've realized. Yeah.
Really? You only finished your last project a month ago?
Yeah, literally.
Wow, that's incredible. Well done.
Thank you. So this is what I was going to say. So what I've noticed is, for me anyway, because obviously the back end developer side of things was so crazy and so much like something I'd never done before, I assumed that was more superior than anything else that you bring to the table. And from the career that I had previously, my communication skills were very good. I was able to really empathize with the user, and my user stories and my readmes, the write-up that you do before you do a project, for everyone who hasn't yet come across this, all of that was really strong for me. And I was very good at like translating really hard-end, back-end Pythonic functions or any kind of back-end code into normal English so I could explain it to normal people. But that was something that I didn't even realize has its own role. That's like a product management kind of role, and I didn't even know that this existed. And it was due to the support from the Learning People's career services that I knew about this, because my mentor was really helpful, and she was like, this is coming through as a really big strength for you, and the kind of person you are, I just can't see you doing a back-end job that isn't very public facing or using your personality or these skills. And I think that would be something, and I just didn't even know this was something that could happen, you know. And I think a lot of people think that. So when I would say to somebody, I'm you know, doing tech and coding, they'd instantly think of what I thought of, which was like in a room somewhere hacking the government. But there's other jobs that you can do. So it was really, really insightful to me when I was in my application stages. I felt a huge imposter syndrome and extremely out of depth, and I'd never really been a small fish. I've always been a big fish. Like in the PT world, in the fitness industry, the best that I can describe it is that the doors are open. When you get there, it's hard, but the doors are open. But in tech, I felt that the doors were closed, but when you get in there, everything is open. And it was just getting into the door. And that's why, again, it's so key to have this extra support. Like learning the stuff is one thing, but if you can't apply that, and if you don't know how to use that to show an employer that you're going to be great, there's just no point in having it. So it was really helpful to learn more about LinkedIn and use it to my advantage. And also the most helpful thing for me was knowing what exactly my skills were and taking note of that throughout the course, because in the course it's very easy to become so overwhelmed with the things that you can't do or that you struggle with, but you sometimes lose focus. Well, I did anyway. I lost focus of things that I was actually really strong with. And you got to remember the nature of the industry. So tech traditionally isn't very social. People who are traditionally in a tech role, you wouldn't associate with having, you know, big social skills and able to, you know, relay information in a very seamless way. So if you have that skill, you're a huge asset. And this is something I didn't know, because I just thought, who's going to want to, you know, employ me for being able to speak to a group of people about some code? Like, surely that's not a job, but it is. So
I find that a lot, Maya, you know, like we're finding more and more that employers don't want that kind of stereotypical coder sat in a corner of a dark room somewhere with big jarring glasses, tapping on a key. Like, actually, they want team players. They want somebody that's going to speak their mind and bring new ideas. They want that stuff.
Absolutely. And for me as well, unlike Lindsay, I hadn't gone to university. I did A-levels and then I became a personal trainer. So for me, there was never this like phase of my life. It's been, obviously I've done learning and I've done, you know, self-development and career development things, but I haven't, like, I thought this is basically like uni, you know, you're sitting there for a year learning something very remote. You do have support, but it is on you, and it's on you to get it all done. So I was like, if I'm going to do anything and I'm going to commit to anything, it should be this. And even like with the financial aspect of it as well, something like this was like a no-brainer to me. The reason I didn't go to university was because I couldn't really justify the expense and the time versus what I would get out of it. But with this, I could clearly see, apply this, pay this, get this, and that made sense to in my head. So
it's fantastic. Lindsay, your glasses have put you in big stead. So that's just go back to your day-to-day role as a junior developer, and you mentioned before that you were doing more back-end bits and pieces as well. What is a typical day-to-day role, and what are you trying to achieve from code? What are you building?
So the company that I'm working with, they do data analysis for exam results for students. So it's a platform that allows teachers to sign in and update either weekly, quarterly, by semester or term their students' performance. So then they're also able to set a expectation or a potential sorry, the word's gone from me, but a baseline essentially. And it's really good because it allows teachers to be notified when a student is struggling, and then they can compare it across all of their subjects or across a certain amount of time. So if a student is, struggling in one specific subject, and they can approach that student and say, do you require further help here? Or if they're struggling in 5 out of their 10 subjects, and they might start to look at other reasons why this student has made a sudden drop, and investigate it. And it just allows a greater ability for classes with a lot of students to just sort of keep on top of all their kids, and just it raises awareness of any child that might be struggling in a certain area or at a certain time of their life. Because I mean, we're all kids, and a lot of the time your instinct isn't to reach out when you are struggling in a certain way. You just internalize it. So my day-to-day, we're expanding quite rapidly. The company's only been in existence for about 3 years now, so there's still a lot to do. And they started with 2 data scientists, I believe, and then they built this platform. And now that they're starting to allow it to go public, and they're bringing in new schools to collaborate with, the demand has increased, and the functionality that specific schools require for specific reasons, that's always increasing. So just moving out from my day-to-day, every twice a week we have a team meeting where we delegate tasks, and we say, Mark, you might be working on this task today, we need to get it done by this deadline. And Lindsay, you'll be working on this task, for example. And then we go about it, but we're always in communication. So as you and Ben were saying, you need team players nowadays. It's not just, okay, we're going to assign this task to so-and-so, and then he's going to get it done. Because I'm working in a group with 2 other people, we need to be in like good relations with each other, so that we can communicate and we can achieve the best product possible in a short amount of time.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, there's a couple of things there. One is you're developing a product which is helping people, and it's another way that coding is helping change lives, which is great. And building what you're building, doesn't take one person. There's multiple resources that have to come together to get the project over the line, and to have good communication skills and collaboration skills is a big part of executing your job well. So Maya, I mean, congratulations on getting your job so soon. What's your day-to-day look like? And a couple of questions. And what would you say to anybody looking to change careers or start a career in coding?
So the job starts on the 7th of June. But I've been doing, I was very, again, I think the biggest thing that I found anyway, which wasn't actually clear in the course. In the course, I was very much embracing, I didn't have time to think about how I was feeling throughout this. I was just like, I need to get the work done so that I can finish the course and start applying. I didn't actually process the real life side of it. So for me, as I mentioned briefly before, it's been the imposter syndrome that I've really struggled with. And that's the biggest thing coming from a different career. If you come from a career where, it's not that much of a turn. I was speaking to one of my clients about it, and she said she went from doing something like the digital marketing for a company to then a promotion to the communications manager or something like that. And she said that was mental for her. So I was thinking that, just to put into perspective, coming from a completely different career into this, you just feel so out of your depth, and it's really, really scary. So I think the most important thing that we should be preparing students for is that feeling. And I think a way to combat that is during your course to be doing things like this, listening to as many people who have been there speak, and so that their story, and you're feeling more empowered by that and more motivated. And also to to just reach out and build your network, like you mentioned earlier as well, building your network. And that was the reason I managed to get a job so quickly, because I was part of a really good group, which is all women, and all women in tech. And it's all about, you know, opportunities and passing the information around, like this place is hiring, where I'm working is hiring, stuff like that. So if you can find yourself something like that or create one, you're sorted. And the same course that Lindsay's referring to that we both did, Code Institute course, is really, really good at that. It really creates that community where everyone shares what they're up to, and then you can ask questions, and it's really open. And as long as you have the confidence to take advantage of those things, you're fine. But you may feel like, I remember with me, my first milestone project, I would never write in Slack what my problem was. I would just write individually to people. I would search my problem, see who else has come up with it, message them secretly and be like, hi, how did you solve that? Because I was too scared. I just felt too embarrassed. I thought, oh, everyone here is so smart and they all know what they're doing. I'm going to look like an idiot if I write, you know, in the big, where everyone can see what my problem is. But you shouldn't feel like that, because everyone's there. You wouldn't be there trying to learn something if you weren't committed to learning it. So that's the hardest part. And I can't remember if you asked me another question. I've rambled on a bit. Sorry.
Yeah, no. So it was two questions. And what advice would you give to anybody looking to start a career in coding, change career?
Yeah, I would say it's unlikely that you're going to know exactly where your strengths lie. So I would try and find a course or the resources to give you as much information as possible. So that's like, you know, some might look at us doing a full stack developer course. And when I first did when I first finished and I started applying, I was just applying for full stack roles. And my mentor said to me, do you want a full stack role though? And I was like, no. And she goes, so why are you applying for them then? And I just thought, because I'd done the course, that's what the course was called, this is all I can do. But you can actually, you know, look, had I not done the course, I wouldn't know where my strengths lie within that. And every part of it is essential to do the job that I'm going to be doing. And as with Lindsay as well, even though he's not doing full stack and he's doing front end or whatever, everything he knows, like the back end that he's speaking about, which he learned on the course, he can apply now to his current role. So it's all encompassing. And I would just suggest doing a course or some kind of learning that teaches you everything, so that you can pick from that what your strengths are. Don't try and, like, I don't want to say half-ass it, but in a way, a career change is a huge thing. You've got to be prepared for that, and you've got to be willing to invest in whatever that means. And if it means learning the whole stuff, then do it, because then you're going to have the most choice.
Awesome.
You said something earlier, Pythonic functions, which is a great term, isn't it? What does that mean?
So we learned the Python language when we were coding. That was what I was using mainly from the third project to the final project. We were learning Python and using it a lot. We were also using databases, and when you're doing stuff like on a website, when you input your information and it gets saved somewhere, and then, you know, that's all about databases, and Python was really good for that, the language Python. So yeah, the functions that you do in Python are all about making things work on the front end, as Lindsay will tell you as well. So I was able to look at something which might be like, it just looks like a different language, and you just look at that and think, what does that mean? But I could go through it and I'd explain, okay, so what we're saying here is this group of information or these variables will do this if that happens, but if that doesn't happen, this will happen. But in that case, we do this, and then if that happens, we do that. And it's like you can comment things around these functions, but it will still not make sense unless someone explains it to you. Obviously, if you don't know, if someone explains it to you, then you'll be like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And I think that was another thing that I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed understanding something that I knew everyone should understand or could have the capability to understand, but everyone was quite scared because it's not something you see every day and it's very intimidating. But if you can be the middleman between that, it's great because you're helping everyone.
Great. Well, I'm just conscious of time, and I'm going to want to continue because it's absolutely fascinating. Ben, both Lindsay and Maya have just discussed the Code Institute full stack course. Can you just clear up what we offer at the Learning People and Studying with Code Institute?
Yeah, absolutely. So if anyone's looking for a new career in coding, there's lots of different directions that you can go. But I generally recommend that you start with web development, just because it's a little bit easier to learn than most areas, a little bit quicker, but there's also a lot of jobs in this field. So if you decide later on that you want to branch out into other things, that's great. But we recommend that you start with web development, but in particular, full stack web development. And All that basically means is that you're one person that can do both the front end of the website, which is all the visual stuff, and then the back end, which, as the name kind of suggests, is like the Python or the database stuff that's going on behind the scenes. So you would be somebody that could build a website that does just about anything for an organization. And our full stack web development program, get in touch and we can talk more about it. I think some of you have spoken with us before. If you haven't, get in touch and we can talk you through it. But the full stack web development program ultimately has you ending up with the 3 major things that you need to actually get work as a coder right now, which is number 1, you've got to have the skills that employers are actually looking for. And with that, to guarantee it, we have our industry advisory council with hundreds of partners that basically tell us what you guys need right now. And then the course is updated regularly to reflect that. Number 2, you get a great qualification, which is a diploma in software development, which is certified by the Code Institute and credit rated by the University of West Scotland. And it's equivalent to an HND level 5 or foundation degree on the EQF, the European Qualification Framework. So that's the first 2. And the final thing that you're going to need is a portfolio. This is actually by far the most important thing. I hope that Lindsay and Maya could agree, but the portfolio is the part that actually gets you a job. The skills and the qualification will get you in front of people, will get you recognized and noticed, but it's the portfolio and your ability to demonstrate it usually that will actually win you that work.
Great, thanks, Ben.
As concise as I could.
Yeah, I think obviously get in touch with us to talk through to the different options. Just some of the questions that the guys have sent in. So Ollie has sent this in. How soon can I get a job after completing the course, and will I be employable with the course under my belt? Well, Maya's obviously got a job straight away. Lindsay, how long did it take you?
You cut up a bit there, Jono, but
Lost you a bit there, Jono.
How long it took you to get a job?
Well, I got my first job with an employer. Would have been about 4 to 5 months after I graduated, but that was also because I took a little bit of time off, because when I was doing my networking, I got in touch with some people who wanted some freelance work done. So I decided to set up my own little company, and I got 2 gigs doing some freelance jobs, which each took a couple of weeks each. So, I mean,
which you got while you were still on the course as well, which I think is a really important note to add.
Oh, you were still doing the course then?
Yeah. I wouldn't recommend that, because yeah, clients want things done as quickly as possible, and you're also trying to get your degree as quickly as possible, your diploma. So trying to juggle both of those was not the smartest, but I like a challenge. So
good experience too.
Yeah.
For you, Lindsay, from the moment that you started looking for that first full-time job, how long was it from there?
I'd say probably about a month. Yeah.
That's about right, usually a month or 2.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
It all depends on the person, like I've seen plenty of people do it in a month, plenty of people do it in 2 months, 3 months. Genuinely, once you're dedicated, you won't really spend longer than 6 months. Once you're following the structured process, doing all the things that you need, all depending, can be anywhere from 1 month to 6 months to give a really realistic kind of what you do. But the more effort that you put in, the closer you'll be to that 1 month, as both Lindsay and Maya here have demonstrated. So
awesome.
Tarek sent a question. Maybe Ben, if you start with answering. There's lots of cheaper courses online. What's the benefit to doing an online boot camp rather than a cheap course?
Crikey, that's a big question. Okay, so there's a huge amount of cheap courses out there, and they're not hard to find. The unfortunate reality is that most of the places selling these courses really are just selling a course. Usually they make it very obvious, though. They really broadcast it. They'll say something like, if you're you're so lucky you've inquired at just the right time. If you enroll by X time, you get X off the course, or like that really should ring some alarm bells to you, and you should avoid that like the plague. But we're really open and honest about this actually. If you're looking at really good coding courses, then you really need to start looking at the ones that can make sure you achieve those three things, or at the very least the right skills and qualifications that I was talking about earlier. Sorry, the portfolio that I was talking about earlier. Because there's maybe 6 that operate in the UK. There's us, there's General Assembly, Makers Academy, Flatiron, Trilogy, and Llewellyn. And among the 6 of us, you'd probably be fine with any of them, honestly. But the major differences between the good coding schools is that we're the only ones that offer a university credit rated diploma. We're the only ones that update the course regularly. And we also provide a service to all of our students now, which is called Code Plus, which gives you access to additional courses should you need them. Because sometimes we find that students, they'll go along for an interview and they might say, oh, we were hoping that you might have some knowledge of PHP or Ruby or any number of other things. And Code Plus, what we're trying to achieve with that is that whatever you need, you're going to have access to that stuff too. That's a relatively new thing that we started doing as well. So, and probably the biggest difference between the big 6 coding schools is that our tuition fee currently for the full stack course is $6,500, whereas all of the other schools have tuition fees from $7,000 to $14,000. So I'd say don't go with a cheap course because it's always missing something. I promise you this. I talk to people every day who've done a cheap course and then eventually come back and do something like this. But usually the question that I get when I'm on the phone from people is, well, Ben, if you guys are clearly offering the most with the best support, career support and so on, then why are you the cheapest of the big 6? And that's a great question. The simple answer is that we're the biggest by far. In fact, we enroll more students every year than the other 5 schools combined. It's just economics. We know we're going to enroll more students, we can charge each student less. So yes, there's cheaper courses, don't do that, but there's significantly more expensive courses too. But you've got to make sure you're getting the skills, qualification, and portfolio. If you've got good, all three of those things and they're good, then you're probably going to be fine.
And to piggyback off the back of that, right, if you're doing a cheap course and you're looking to move into the market as a graduate developer or a junior developer, I can tell you from my own experience in recruitment, while I was recruiting for these kind of roles, my clients would not accept people that have done a cheap course online, right? Very, very cheap, very quick kind of one. Look, the clue is in the name, right? It's cheap, it's lack of value, right? So whereas with the Code Institute, because it was accredited, and the Code Institute have a very, very very strong reputation, I was able to send graduates from rather than university with the bootcamp kind of a thing, because of it's known the level of quality that you get that's within the Code Institute training.
It always surprises me a little when somebody says, oh, you can go do this cheap course instead. It's like, did you hear what you just said? Like, we're talking about your life, your future. You don't go find the cheapest thing you can, you find the best thing you can. So I get passionate about that.
No, it's great to see your passion, Ben. So just finally with Lindsay and Maya, what's next? I mean, you're very much early days of your separate software development. Where's the peak for this, please?
I think John is asking what's next for you guys.
Robot John is with us today.
No,
he's on the bad end.
I heard the question. I just always sort of get caught in the headlights whenever that question gets asked.
I suppose it's still fairly new for you, right? Like you recently started this thing and you're probably going to do this for a while until you figure out what's next.
Yeah. Well, Maya touched upon this where, like it's such a broad world that you're not still quite aware of all of the different possibilities. I mean, I'm very happy where I am right now. As you said, it's still at the start. So my goal for the next year is to keep exploring the area that I'm in and, keep experimenting for new things. And when I joined this position, I didn't think that I would be doing any back end, and now they've offered that to me. I'm really enjoying
That's really great,
new things, and you just take each step at a time.
Awesome.
For me, it's very much about mirroring what Lindsay said. I just want to keep building on the skills that I've got, meeting as many people as I can, learning. My first thing is just managing this new role and getting that like under my belt. After that, I want to, like I said, just really, really learn. And I feel like for me, another thing just quickly as well, you said about how this course is the most up to date, which is another huge thing. And I, did my research. I spoke to people, like I said, who are in the industry, and they said, the fact that it taught Python's the in thing at the moment. Everyone knows that. It's good that you're learning that. But then when you were applying, I don't know if you found this, Lindsay, I was really struck by how everyone wanted you to know React. And that wasn't something we did on the course. And I was like, oh my God. But I just did. In this case, I could just do a cheap course because of all the knowledge I've already got. I can now do a cheap course and just bang out, the basics of React, for example. And I felt much more confident about being able to. So I think a key to remember is when you are doing a career change, at first, it might be quite expensive because it's something massive. You're going to invest in the best of the best. But then thereafter, you've got those foundations, so you can just do the cheaper things if you need to get more confident at a certain thing. And eventually I would like to potentially move into AI and look at oppressive algorithms and start changing that and helping to really, put my other life goals into this and merge them so that I could help change things for the better.
It's a really great pickup, that, actually, Maya, because we sometimes there's things that employers need you to have, like React, that kind of a little bit of left field. It suddenly got really popular a little while back, and interestingly, with one of the updates, we're currently in the process of putting React into the course now. But you're right, for those little things that you need to go off and pick up, you can do a cheap course or even a free course to pick up that stuff.
I'll be honest, mine was free.
Yeah, great. So if you just need that one thing,
once you've got that baseline, you can then build upon it. You're not the difference is trying to go into the market as a solely self-taught developer. You will not be received. People won't trust in your training. So you've got that baseline of really good, very well reputable training. Then you can start with as much as you want, because people then know that you've got the basics to be able to take that on and apply it effectively. So.
And I do have to run, but there's just one thing I want to say just about the course. I think if you sum up what you're paying for when you were speaking, I want to say this earlier, you're paying for the full surrounded support. You've not just got the mentors, you've got the tutors that help you through the problems, then you've got Slack, then you've got your, like I said, the mentor, then you've got the actual video resources. You're just so supported. And for when you're coming, like I was, from a completely different industry, non-techie, you need to be handheld at every single step. And I suppose for me, I felt like this was the most handheld you can get while still being prepared for the real world, because there were times when my mentor would be like, I'd be like, okay, can you look over my wireframes, or can you look over this? And she was like, I'll be honest with you, if you need me to look over that, you shouldn't even be doing the course. And that was like, oh, but it was it was real. And that's true. Like when you're in a job, you need to know that. You need to know that they're not going to handhold you. They're going to want you to perform. You're there for a reason. And I think this course did the best job at preparing me for real life situations, whilst also helping me at the same time. But I do have to run, and I'm so sorry to have to leave back. But it was great to share with all of you and meet all of you.
No worries at all. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Maya.
Yeah, you run if you need to. I think I'd add to thank you for adding that, because I was actually talking with a guy yesterday who had read a review from somebody that we didn't even recognise. I'm not sure if it's real yet. But she said, avoid at all costs. This is a scam. Don't do it. We think it's one of our competitors. But she was saying there's no support on the course. They tell you there's loads of support, and then there isn't. There's nothing. They don't help at all. It's like it couldn't be further from the truth.
Yeah, honestly, it is. That was the thing that stood out to me the most. And even when I spoke to other people, or you could do a YouTube, you could learn stuff on YouTube and all of that. But when you're in at 4 a.m. trying to code something and finish your project, and you're going crazy and you're pulling your hair out, there's no one to ask if you're doing a YouTube course. Whereas here, you have people to ask, and you're completely supported. And I couldn't scream about it enough. But I have to go. Thank you so much, everyone.
No, thank you so much, Maya.
Bye, Maya.
Thank you, Maya.
Jono, did you have any other questions there, bud?
No, because I'm going a bit robotic. It's probably best that we wrap this one up, unless yourself or Robin does.
Nope.
No, well, we're all good, I think.
Yeah.
A good session.
Great. Okay, guys. If you want to get in touch, I've got a slide to show you the details.
Lindsay, thank you for taking the time today as well. Very much appreciated.
Yeah,
Well,
I echo that as
yeah,
well.
you're most welcome. I mean, after all the help that you gave me, I just want to give back a little bit. So
Thank you. Thank you.
Great.
So yeah, guys, please do get in touch, call us, email us, leave an inquiry on the website, whichever you prefer, and we'll get in touch. And we can talk through with you exactly what it is that you might be interested in achieving with your life and your career moving forward, and how one of our courses might work best for you, and exactly how it might look and work for you as well, like with a study plan, payment options, and these kinds of things. So get in touch and we'll talk through it with you. Okay.
Great. Thanks so much, everybody, for taking your time out. We look forward to speaking with you.
Great. Thank you, guys. Take care. See you later.
Bye.